Welcome back to another episode of It's All Been Checked Before. In this episode, the gang talks about Dagger of the Mind. While you're watching that, and once you get done listening to that and watching this, and check out some other stuff on the IABD Presents network, such as Dirty Story Night. They've racked up a lot of dirty stories in their short time, and they're all here at Dirty Story Night. You can search by theme, you can search by who wrote the dirty story. It's not safe for work, but you're probably going to want to listen to these at home, in your room, alone. Or maybe with that special somebody. You never know. It might be the thing. Dirty Story Night, check it out. While you're checking out podcasts, also check out the good, the bad, and the geeky. Nick and his crew get together and they talk about the good, the bad, and the geeky, and they've been doing it for a long time. So catch up with those guys. Another great part of our network. And now, check out Dagger of the Mind.
Welcome to another episode of It's All Been Checked Before. This is the Star Trek episode Dagger of the Mind. And we have our regular group around here.
I'm Amanda.
Steven.
I'm becoming more regular, I guess. Keith.
Keith has been in a number of episodes, and I am Jimmy-Jerome, apparently.
Jimmy-Jerome.
Of this podcast. It still sounds weird every time I say it. So, Dagger of the Mind. First impressions.
It reminds me a lot of what little girls are made of. Mm-hmm. A lot.
Yeah.
You mean Sugar and Spice, or is there something?
The episode that we watched.
Episode.
But good, yes.
Noted doctor on a...
a noted doctor
something weird about him.
Right, that Kirk is like, oh, but this guy's done all these
Amazing.
wonderful things.
Very trusting.
Right.
Beams down with nobody to greet them.
Again.
Right, and also the doctor seems suspect and shady because he's like, oh, I need you and very limited number of people to come down and no security. I'm like, really? And then again, it's just Kirk and one chick, and she seems to idolize the doctor for a while. Mm-hmm. Because for a while, look, I had my issues where the men kept like mansplaining over her and cutting her off every time she tried to stay aside. Whatever.
I only missed the one time.
It happened at least
Several
twice,
times,
if not more.
And you notice they were all asking to be addressed by first names, but she's the only one that ever did get addressed by first name.
Yeah, and then she's the one that's like, for the longest time, like, Kirk, why are you even questioning Dr. Adams? And I'm like, okay, great. Female doctor, why are you so stupid? Like,
yes.
Yeah.
No, you're not wrong. She was definitely the bumbling, for that, sexist caricature of a female in the 1960s. Kirk was shocked that it was a woman that came to the transport room as a doctor, and Spock gave him a look.
Well, are we sure
wasn't his reaction that it was the Christmas party girl?
Well,
yes,
I think that would... Yeah,
I think that was more the reaction.
Which is even odder that he didn't remember her name even, which I guess
yes.
we get back into later kind of with the whole memory.
They only did last name.
No, he might not have even... Yeah, he might not have known that she was a doctor.
Yeah.
Just a Dr. Noel. Okay, whoever that is. And then...
Yeah, he just knows Ellen.
Was it like one of those one-night stands and he never even got her name? Was it before she was on the ship?
Could be all kinds of things.
By the way, we'll cut right to it. This is my alternate episode.
I was hoping it would be.
It's the Christmas party, obviously.
Yes.
And then when she puts the idea in his head or whatever, and he's remembering it, it would be like Rashomon or like Who Got D Pregnant on Always Sunny. It'd be from different points of view what actually happened with those two that night.
I like
from the point of view of Kirk and then
and her
Noel
and Spock obviously saw it happen.
Spock, and then of course Ensign Jones.
Sure,
Ensign Smith Jones. Of course.
In Helen's quote-unquote fantasy of the night, which was clearly a male fantasy of the night, just to say that.
Yeah.
But in her fantasy, when you said, like, oh, Janice Rand is in the corner, I thought it was, no, Smith Jones is in the corner, like, why isn't it me?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Funny about Janice Rand, I was looking up this episode. Really, I was looking up Hell in the Well because I swear I've read a novel where they've explored that a little bit further. But I was looking her up, and she was actually created last minute for this script was actually written for Kirk and Janice Rand to be on the mission.
I wonder. That
And
makes
Rand was
sense.
written out of the show, and so then they made it like, oh, well, she's a doctor. That makes sense.
Sure.
But so I guess Kirk and Janice Rand would have hooked up at the Christmas party, which is a whole nother branch that we would need to go down.
Well, yes, but that also wouldn't tie in if they. I wonder
Right.
if that was an added thing.
I don't
for
like.
that
I feel
character.
like they could have at that point because they've kind of toyed with the Rand Kirk relationship. I kind of feel like if that had been in the script for Kirk and Rand, it would have really made their relationship a little more complex.
But I
Then,
feel like-
then it would have been, oh, we hooked up and we haven't talked about it
especially
since
if it was
then.
recently Christmas. Like this was something they had.
Yeah,
just-
but when would this have? When did this air?
well, I mean, this was mid-year, so they could have aired it around Christmas time. This was their version of a Christmas episode by mentioning a Christmas
Yeah,
party.
and I think it was definitely. Well, it was she put the thing
November
in.
3rd. That's too early for Christmas.
Well, but they didn't air them all in order, so they could have aired it around.
Yeah.
They didn't know when they were writing it.
And she mentioned the Christmas party, so it was definitely his. But it was his mind was filling the.
Yeah. fill it
And
in.
because there was no mistletoe, so obviously she would have had mistletoe, but he of course didn't care. He was going to kiss her either way.
Since we're on that subject, I wanted to ask a follow-up question of Amanda. I mean, could you explain what you mean by it being a male fantasy? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, just okay. So you've carried me in here. This is so wonderful. And then just the whole conversation and in there, it did not come across to me as a female fantasy.
Yeah.
It came across as a male writer projecting his own fantasy onto a female character.
It makes sense as Kirk's fantasy.
Yeah, it came across much more as
Yeah.
like a Kirk fantasy than hers.
Yeah.
I mean, I was under the impression. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with that part of it. I'm just saying that it seemed like they were suggesting that she was actually describing in detail to him, and he was.
Right.
Oh,
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean is clearly it was written as like just in this basically in the script that she is describing to him sort of her idea of something that didn't actually happen. But my argument is that from a further out standpoint,
It's not the
Yes.
way a woman would have
that's
written it.
not
I
the
agree with that. I agree with that totally. I'm saying just the thing about Stephen saying that it was Kirk's filling
Yeah,
it in. I
I
don't
feel
know.
like-
It's hard
yeah.
to tell whether that was supposed to what they meant to have come across.
Oh yeah.
and my other
Her skirt
because I'm not
was
letting.
short.
That was one. That was
I
one
have
of my,
that down.
Solid
Yes.
blue underwear.
Yes. Yeah. Shorter skirt yet, or
This and Miri, which
Yeah.
I wasn't on the episode for that, but the first thing I thought when I saw Janice Rand on that planet was, oh, the skirts have gotten even
Yeah.
shorter,
Yeah.
and they're essentially just like rompers now with colored underwear.
Right.
Thank you, Bill Theis.
and not
Fancy.
only that, she
Sorry,
was she was able to work in the cleavage in this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw
Oh,
her
yeah,
bra.
that's
Yeah, it was really hanging
Yeah.
open there.
And then of course, later they have her on her hands and knees going through the ducts to provide more
Yeah, I
cleavage.
saw
Well, yeah,
her
I'm
bra
surprised.
there.
I'm actually
They-
kind of surprised when you get the shot of Kirk's face looking at her underwear.
Well,
She
yeah,
held it
yeah,
there.
exactly.
He was very nonchalant, not staring, and that didn't make sense to me, especially considering he was in love with her at that point.
This is true.
Well,
Yeah.
I think he was fighting back against the mind
That's a whole
control.
other thing we'll talk about.
It should have caused pain.
Because I thought when she backed up against the wall, I was like, shit, we're about to have another sexual assault.
Right.
But it didn't, and I appreciated that. Good
It was
job.
kind of when he kept kissing her, and she was like,
Well,
"It's
no,
not-"
that was later.
yeah.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about when he first.
No, right then he didn't. But he kind of sexually assaulted her a little later.
Yeah, she also was clearly kissing him back. And then
Yeah,
going,
but she was all like, "Oh, this isn't you," or whatever. I don't know.
They created a funny
she was
moment.
fighting. She was fighting against her own desires.
That's true.
There were things
Sure.
like, "This isn't right. I can't take advantage of you because I did this to you."
Right, because she clearly had feelings for him. I mean,
It
that-
would have been
absolutely.
cool to have. This is another one of those where we talked about with Miri. It's like there was all this time spent resolving all that stuff. If they could have cut a couple minutes here or there, this one, so we could have just one little conversation, just to give a little more light on what actually happened with these two,
yeah,
that would have been cool.
I agree.
And is the Christmas party in quotation marks, or they're still doing Christmas parties
They're
out?
still doing Christmas parties.
Because I thought it might be in quotation marks again, because there was no mistletoe, no tinsel, nothing. It was just them in their uniforms.
Well, I thought at that point he was pulling her into his cabin.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
some of his
this is
private
true.
quarters.
Yeah.
But I feel like somebody would have a Santa hat on.
Or Janice's
Or-
voice.
Yes,
Yeah.
there should have been a Santa
Yeah.
hat. Santa's didn't make it to the 24th century.
Yeah.
That myth's gone.
Yeah.
But the myth of Jesus Christ being born in the winter survived.
Well, damn it, somebody should have had some kind of accoutrement.
Why are you shaking your head at me, Amanda?
You know why.
Historically, he was not born at Christmas.
Okay. I'm aware of that.
My comment for that was Dr. Noel's skirt seems to be the shortest in the history of the show so far.
Yes. Yep.
So far.
We were all over that.
Oh, yeah. But she had leggings, so she wasn't bare legs.
Sure.
She wasn't as
Those
cold.
aren't leggings. Those are straight up just pantyhose.
Pantyhose.
Pantyhose? Okay.
Yes.
And
Sorry.
she was played by Mariana Hill,
Yep.
who was famous for playing Deanna Corleone in The Godfather
Yeah.
Part 2.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Fredo's wife, yeah. Because I saw her credit in Godfather Part 2, I'm like, who? Oh. And then it made sense, yeah.
Jimmy
As well as the
hasn't seen those
Clint
movies yet.
Eastwood movie,
Yet.
High Plains Drifter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Made famous by the Beastie Boys.
She was most
Yes.
she was most big in it looks like the early 70s. That was
Yeah.
like her career high point. So a little bit after that. This was kind of towards the she had been working before this. She had a lot of credits before this, but she became a little more well known after this and then kind of drifted off. Although she does have one 2016 credit. Even
Oh,
though
really?
she only has 2 credits since the 80s, but one of them was in 2016.
Huh.
Interesting.
I think she's 74, right?
She was born in 1942.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, 74.
I
A
thought
character actress.
Her hair was interesting.
Yeah.
It was.
It was very, like, it had something going on, but then there was just, like, this little wisp of hair down
And
the
it was
side.
slightly different for the Christmas.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will admit, in a lot of her scenes, I just kept staring at her hair, like, why is that piece of hair down? Why is that piece of hair down?
Yeah,
it was distracting to
it
me.
was.
Okay, while we're on the subject of fashion,
Yeah.
real fast,
Go for it.
Fashion.
I really loved you her as green earrings.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
those
I didn't
are,
even see those.
She wears those a lot, I think.
But
in
this
the
was the
show.
first time it was very noticeable
Okay.
to me that I was like, ooh,
I don't know if she's worn them yet in the show, but I think she
Yeah.
wears them a lot. I think they're actually on the action figure.
well, I want those earrings because
Okay.
I liked them.
My other fashion note was those robes or whatever the guys wearing. The penal colony. What is
the
it?
guys are wearing
A giant
fancy
hand
blouses.
with a
oh, we're talking about
bird
the
and a
uniform and the
sun?
dove.
Yeah.
The dove and the sun and the hand. It was all
Yeah.
peace and love.
Yeah.
To me, that was like, oh, this is 1966, so we're gonna throw in like sort of a hippie reference for a penal
Yes.
colony because they're all happy
Yeah.
and
I like
flowy
the
dresses.
patient outfits that the women looked like they were wearing quilts or shower curtains of some
I
sort.
didn't catch
I-
that.
And the man looked like they were wearing shiny blouses.
I felt like
Yeah.
part of his method with the whole thing was he made it into a swingers colony. The way everyone was walking around
Yes.
holding hands, like, hey, how's it going? How are you doing? How's it going?
Uh-huh.
They were, yeah. I think he emptied their minds and then filled them with.
So, did
Huh.
anyone else think
She is indeed wearing the
she
green
does have
earrings and the
earrings.
action
That's
figure.
excellent.
Yes.
So, did anyone else think that lazy eye therapist was like maybe Adam's sex slave? Also, like that just it was super
Maybe.
weird. I
She
don't know.
seemed
Maybe I'm
maybe
reading
That
too
got
much
cut
into
for
it.
time.
she seemed maybe jealous or something for some reason.
She wasn't lazy eye until she got subjected to this brain.
Well, and she was the one they asked what she did to get in there.
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty sure she killed people.
yeah.
And I feel like she's killed
Yeah.
people since, and then they just erase it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
She definitely
was-
had a sinister, like, Igor kind of thing going on.
She was played by Suzanne Wasson, who has very few credits, but is most famous for the movie Stitches from 1985.
I have 2 fashion comments left.
Go for it.
Throw them in. We're here.
For, this is
I forgot to throw in the music.
far more than I have usually get. So, the first one is the prisoner's heeled boots, like Dexter's Laboratory. The character Dexter. I don't know if
Yes.
you ever watched that cartoon.
Uh-huh,
but
I
remember.
did.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, "What the f is the logo on the robes? A dove being pinched by the kids in the hall head crusher." Yeah.
Very good.
Yes.
Crushing the dove.
And Bones had his short sleeve shirt on again.
Oh, yes,
Yeah, I
he
like
did.
when he
Yeah, he
wears
did.
shorts. I'd wear a short sleeve if I were him.
I got really excited. There was an exclamation point on that note.
You just like to see his hairy arms.
It's like short sleeve Bones. That's what it said in my brain. Yep.
He's got to be ready for surgery at a moment's notice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, they said he was the ship's surgeon.
Yeah.
If you caught in this
yeah.
episode.
Yeah. Why wasn't Scotty in the transporter room
Well,
at the
he's
beginning.
the chief engineer. He doesn't work the
done all
transport
these
all the time.
But they're also like, so what is his name? Van Gelder was
Yes.
also
Oh,
like
yeah.
running through engineering.
Oh,
Wouldn't
yeah.
it have been so easy for Scotty just to be like, hey, Captain Kirk, he's here, instead of the worst security officer in
Yeah.
the world?
Who doesn't even
He was-
look around corners?
No, he was like walking around like, "How's it going, everybody?" Like
It
he
was
was.
like he's gonna
I mean,
shake
this ship
hands.
gets intruders and stuff enough that they should be
They should
aware.
be, yeah, they should be good at this by now.
I definitely thought the penal colony were just redress sets from the Enterprise.
Yes.
Oh.
yeah.
I wrote that the
They saved
power
some major
room
money.
where they're
Yeah.
like opening it, or
Just
turning on and off the
engineering.
power. It looked just like the back room of engineering from Enemy Within, redressed
Yeah.
a little bit.
Now Kirk tells her that the high voltage could kill her, right?
Yes.
How?
Well,
Because it's
That
just
guy clearly got
it was just
killed.
this. Oh, that's true. If she touched any of the other wires,
Right.
that's
Or probably if she like touched the handle and then touched something
Yeah.
else, like
Well-
it creates the circuit.
And up until then, I was like,
I'm guessing.
why doesn't Noelle? She's on a starship. She should be able to kick some ass.
Sure.
You know, they grab her the first time. They
Right.
grab her the second time. She doesn't have a phaser for some reason. Then finally, she gets into action, kills the guy. Doesn't even. And actually, that part was good because she wasn't like, "Oh my gosh!" They
know.
didn't do the
No,
typical
she,
woman
like,
thing. She
kicked
was like
him
kicked
real
him,
hard.
and she was like, "All right, on to the next. What's next?"
See, my problem with the fight scenes was when Van Gelder took the bridge.
Yeah.
And he's facing off on Kirk, and Uhura's right there behind him. She's
Yeah.
got a perfect shot. Why doesn't she kick ass? Knew Uhura on the new movies would have kicked ass.
Yeah.
Well, but he was holding a phaser. Maybe they were
So?
afraid of him, like,
So
discharging
she
it
could judo
from the
chop
other
like everybody else does.
That leads me to my second comment, though. Did the mind erasure include combat training for Van Gelder? Like, why did he know how to, like, right out of the box, just chop and
Yeah.
knocking somebody out with
Because
one
yeah,
chop?
he was just a doctor.
Well, that's
Yeah.
his hobby. His hobby is he takes judo
He
lessons
was
on the
really
side.
into like karate chopping people
Yeah.
on the neck.
Well, we're talking about Simon Van Gelder. He was played by Morgan Woodward,
Yeah, he was.
who, lot of credit. Life
Yeah.
and Legend of Wyatt Earp.
He did a lot of westerns.
Cool Hand Luke.
Yeah, he's
Show Dallas.
He's the guy in the glasses with the gun in Cool Hand Luke. He's the badass.
He played a character in Dallas for 55 episodes, the original run, named Punk Anderson.
Huh.
He looked like he was like 60 or 70 in that
I know.
this
Yeah.
episode.
He's still alive. He's 91.
Oh wow. These Star Trek guys, they live a long time.
They sure do.
And they
He
prosper.
he'd done mostly western.
And they prosper.
Keith, this is why we need
I
Keith here
set you
more.
right up for that. I can't believe I did that.
He finds those so quickly.
Right.
Part of why I love Keith.
But I was reading this guy had done all westerns up until like around this time, and so he really liked doing this departure. He always played the badass, like I said, in
Yeah.
Cool Hand
Yeah.
Luke or the whatever the villain, the a-hole. But
Yeah, I mean, it was
So you like the
overacting, but he was making a point.
He did
Yeah.
a lot of
It
eye
worked.
acting.
He did.
his getting into pain when he was trying to say the words, it was like a stutter, and it was just like it hurt me to wait, but it made everyone focus.
Yeah.
Like, what?
It felt
It's
it felt
gonna
authentic
say.
in a way. I mean,
Yeah.
it was effective to me anyway. I was
was.
like, oh, I was kind of
Yeah, I felt for
losing.
him.
It did look like it was hurting his brain.
Yeah.
It didn't look like it was
Right.
attacking
Yeah.
another part of his body.
Yeah.
He did a good job at
Yeah.
making you think it was hurting his brain.
Yeah.
Or the dagger of the mind.
Hey, that's the title of the episode.
Hey.
Wait, is that what the... No, I'm just kidding. That's not what it is.
So my third comment then was, face during medical exam rant resembled a Ren and Stimpy character. Like toward the end when he was like, you know,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
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 especially
was
the
pretty
crazy
animated.
fireman
I don't...
or the guy
Yep.
has to be here with you.
Yep.
My biggest problem with the episode was how the freak does that beam work? Like, Kirk can, like, jump out of the chair, but he can't leave the room. Like, he just...
Yeah.
You know, the intensity, like, goes really high and it can kill a man, but then it also sometimes doesn't kill a man. And Kirk's in the chair, but he said Van Gelder was rolling on the floor, so there's different levels.
It can
And
kill
then-
a man, but why it doesn't. That made sense. They explained that.
The
was
emptying
that?
the mind with nothing to replace
that
it.
there was nothing to replace.
I thought that was a
emptiness
cool little thing
in the
myself. I
mind.
thought
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
I wasn't
I
clear
thought
on the
that-
intensities and levels and things, and I don't think they were clear
because
either.
it was knobs and
Yeah,
there
but I
wasn't
don't
any
think they were
setting
clear
that you
either.
could see.
Right.
And just like that room was just so open, like why didn't you just leave the room if you're being done? And
Yeah.
why did Kirk go back in the chair when they went to get in the room? He's like, oh, another treatment? Sure,
Right,
why
yeah.
not?
That's what I
like
wanted.
it's just doctor security guards for a hospital. Basically, all you'd have to do is judo chop them, like he eventually does to Dr.
Yeah,
Adams.
that's
And it was a
fair
weird.
point.
It was like a recording studio, except
Yeah.
it was open. All you did was go right
Right?
around, and
Like
yeah.
there's no radiation. Or
They couldn't have
whatever.
possibly
Jeez,
added on a wall.
How's
Yeah,
it focused?
and like you don't have Helen just lock the door while you're testing it out. you know.
Eh, nothing to worry about.
I mean, there were just that itself. It felt like, oh, this is a device we want to use, but we're not really going to spend any time figuring out how it works or how our characters are going to get pulled
Well,
in
and
and
it's
out
just
of it.
he's like, I want to test it, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. It's like, what could possibly go wrong here? Nothing. There's-
Well, and then when they're like torturing Kirk in it later for a second treatment, like, okay, so Kirk just willingly went in and sat in the chair. Like he would be fighting
Right.
them.
Yes.
They have to hold him down. Then
Right.
the guards are in there getting the beams too.
Right.
Like there weren't any straps on the chair.
no.
Yeah.
And at first I thought, why don't they just close their eyes? Then eventually he did, but for a while he wouldn't close his eyes. I'm like,
I don't think the open eyes would have mattered.
it did, yeah,
was
because he started closing.
Yeah,
them,
but it felt to me like it was an idea that they didn't fully develop.
The most noteworthy thing that I saw with the machine was that it had a big off light.
Yeah.
So it's lit up for off
Yes.
instead of being it's
It also felt like that should have
Backwards.
been just a button instead of a light or something. Like
yeah.
it was
What
so
were the two
weird.
controls? On, off, and intensity.
Yes.
Yes.
And again, all you need is two dials to run any complicated.
Sure.
Want to make an Android? All you need is 3 or 4.
Well, that was
knobs.
funny because they're like, Helen, are you familiar? Yeah, I'm vaguely familiar with the theory. Now, Helen, operate the machine. Okay, I can do that. I've got my professional training. But it is only 2 knobs, so I get how she learned it so quick.
What was the other thing she wasn't trained in? It was going through ducts or high power voltage. Is that-
It was something with the voltage.
yeah.
Are
She
you-
picked that up
yeah,
quickly,
or the
too.
She picked that up.
circuitry.
Yeah.
Or
She
something
She was
like
pretty
that.
badass for
She was.
for
I
a female
wrote
character. in the
kick-ass.
1960s.
Noelle was
I-
kick-ass, yeah.
Thank God for air ventilation ducts.
Yeah.
How-
Man-sized?
Well, just in general, like how many films and television shows use air ventilation ducts as a plot device at some point?
Well, and Kirk says, does he say
ridiculous.
I won't fit in there?
I think he did say that he wouldn't fit.
Yeah, he could have fit in there.
He could have fit.
Yeah, because
She had plenty of room.
there was like she
Yeah.
was this tiny little thing in this giant duct.
So maybe, obviously, it goes to people wanted to see her on her hands, and he's walking
yeah.
crawling through there,
Yeah.
wearing almost nothing. But maybe Kirk, since he was so in love with her at the time, wanted to watch her go away.
Go away.
That's
So the door, the little grate to the power room was small. But so the camera could see her. There was a huge grate behind her
Yeah.
there. So what room was that? Nobody was in it and nobody's watching.
I've got nothing.
And why do you need an air vent with a grate that gigantic in any room?
I don't know. But their security guards were kind of on top of things until they were fried. Now, the one guy got fried. What happened to the other two?
I don't know.
And was this the Enterprise security guard? And when they beam down at the end and they're roughing up their security, was it the same guy who got karate chopped earlier?
Probably.
Because he got really
Probably.
rough with him. I was like,
didn't-
all right. That's the first time I've seen a security guard actually do his job.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention if it was or not.
I
That would
didn't
be.
either.
I didn't look close enough.
I mean, and that was the thing when Spock beamed down. It's like, okay, you're trying to get through the shield, you're trying to get down, but you don't have security guards like ready to go.
Right.
And like, okay, I'm going to beam down without security. Just send them behind me.
Yeah.
It's cool.
They get a chance.
Yeah. Well.
One last thing I wanted to circle back to, if I can close out my list and just get done with it, is the well, they had this very comical moment on the bridge when Dr. Adams was making the request. Essentially, it was almost like satire again, whether intentionally or not, something like the way that it played across their faces.
Was
and
it the
everything.
eye talking?
Not quite. I'm
Okay.
talking about when he was saying, "Oh, and by the way, I want this to be your landing party. I would be a great personal favor to
yeah,
me
yeah.
if you, Kirk, could personally do
Oh,
this."
Yeah.
So it was almost as if it was like Simpsons, Futurama, BoJack, all kinds of weird kinds of things that made me think of where they do this thing where they're like, here we're going to do this fourth wall breaking thing. We'll explain why you have to do this thing that you shouldn't logically need to do.
Yeah, there was a lot of fun interplay in that scene, and then in several other scenes between Kirk, Spock, and McCoy in this episode.
They did a lot of eye talking back and forth.
They did.
They're not saying anything. They're just looking at each other.
At the end, there was that
throwing
long silence at the end.
But clearly at this point, their bond's established.
Yeah.
McCoy and Spock are calling him Jim even on the bridge.
Yeah.
Instead of Captain already, which seems a little early for their relationship to be doing that. But like the shorthand between the three of them and how they've gelled at this point just was perfect. I mean, yeah, it was too early in the series run, but for longtime fans of those characters, it's like, oh yeah, this is what I love, that Kirk, Spock, McCoy.
Did you notice all of their eye makeup?
Yes.
Okay, because they all had very distinctive, slightly
yes.
different eye makeup
They did.
in all of their eye talking scenes. Yes.
Yeah, but all the looks, all the laugh. I mean, there were some
loved
unintentionally funny moments of just them, like, Spock being amused at their expense.
Yeah.
Leonard Nimoy has the best facial expressions.
Well, and okay, we can't talk about this without talking about Spock doing the mind meld for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Was that in this episode?
Jimmy. So,
What about it?
it's the first time it's the mind meld.
It was also
And that's-
probably the most awkward time he ever did the mind meld, as far as I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, moving around him and like going to Spider-Man kiss
Yeah.
him. I wanted to just lick his forehead at some point.
Their faces were very
Very close,
together.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
Keith said that if his wife had been watching, she would have yelled out "kiss," and I got very close to saying that multiple times.
Well, the opening scene part of that where he's the guy's just laying flat and he's just approaching him like that. I'm pantomiming cradling his head and just moving in closer for the perfect position for it, and then just then circles around for the Spider-Man
So
position.
the way you describe that, like, he's going in with his hands and he's cradling his head. This is the second episode in a row where there's a lot of, like, touching of other people's faces. Because in Miri,
Nimoy was jealous that Shatner had to touch all the faces.
Yeah,
It's like,
Kirk
my
is
turn.
like constantly touching Miri's face in that. And then in this, I mean, Spock's all up in Van Gelder's grill. Like, let me touch your whole face, man.
Yeah.
Because I would think mind meld, I mean, I know your brain goes back here, but why is he touching the front of his face or his chin? Like, that's not where his brain is.
Yeah, in future mind melds, basically stays still, and it's like, it is spread on the side of the face,
on the side of the
like
face.
certain points.
And that makes sense.
And that makes sense. What he was doing this time did not make sense.
I
Additional chant.
Just 2 days ago, I was in the car with my sister, and I reached out to her, and I was like, I am mind melding with you. Because it's such a huge part of just iconic thing that I think people do it without even knowing Star Trek.
My friend Rich and I used to do it in restaurants with people. We would each do it to whoever was next to us. People we knew. And we would always do Devil in the Dark. Isn't that the one?
Yes.
Pain.
Yeah, we'll get to that one. That's good with the hard
Well,
That's a great episode.
It is a great episode.
But that's a good
I
mind
kind
meld.
of wish that you did it to strangers. Is that
Like next table over.
We were loud enough that strangers saw it and wondered what was going on. But it was it always drew attention.
For some reason, I'm just picturing you guys like at
Yes.
Cheesecake
It's okay,
Factory and
it's
just
all-
like reaching over
It was
to the
usually,
next
it's usually like
table.
El Vaquero or whatever. It's just like the other people, the people at our table were probably like, oh, that's kind of weird. They're touching each. No, that's weird couples. Why are they screaming pain? What's wrong with them?
Well, we also got another little Vulcan thing because Spock had to tell us about how his planet had eliminated
that was
emotions
cool.
to eliminate violence.
That's true.
They haven't got into the spin-off race yet that chose not to eliminate the emotions.
That's right.
But
They're
they
coming up
started to
soon.
give you a little of the backstory.
Yeah.
The Romulans.
I was about to ask.
They were the split off of the Vulcan race that embraced their warlike tendencies.
Yes.
But we haven't seen them yet in the show.
Not yet.
So they probably hadn't made them up yet.
That's funny.
I thought that was a cool little interchange.
Yeah.
Um,
Just getting that little
yeah.
thing.
Spock kind of backdoor slapping humans for 40 centuries of organized violence.
Yes.
Yes.
And they got into a little bit of penal colony or prison talk.
Penology.
Yeah,
So the crate said
it
the
said-
man-sized crate that of course had a man in it.
It said Bureau of Penology.
By the way,
sure.
what else
Just
was
so
in
you
that
know.
crate?
Nothing.
But wasn't the penal
It said
colony
it was
beaming it up?
Yeah, it's supposed to be. I can't remember what it said it on it. It was some kind of equipment.
Yeah. Hell no.
Yeah. But how did they not notice that the box was empty? I mean, granted, then we couldn't have defeated Adams.
Right.
But Okay.
That was my thing. Is like they were definitely beaming something up they wanted to beam up.
How did they not notice that was?
I guess he could have taken whatever was supposed to be in there out of it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
assumed
Right.
I assumed that.
So okay,
And crate technology hasn't really advanced that much.
No.
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 we don't need new crates.
Did it say fragile? Fragile?
I saw like a leg lamp behind him as he climbed out.
It was a Christmas episode after.
Cool, it was a Christmas episode, yes. I don't know if that movie was. I don't think that movie was.
No,
made
no,
yet.
not yet. No.
No, not yet.
That movie copied this episode.
Yeah, clearly.
A Christmas Story.
Okay, I have a question about Adams at the end.
Okay, Dr. Tristan Adams, who is played by James Gregory.
Yeah.
We have not talked about that actor
That's
yet.
true. That's true.
And he looked familiar to me. I think he's
He's
had
in
a
a
lot of credit.
million things.
Manchurian Candidate is what he's
Yeah.
probably most famous for.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Barney
Barney
Miller,
Miller.
Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Yep.
So, was anybody else thinking maybe Adams would have just been like a puddle in that room from the beam? Like his
Oh,
head
yeah.
would like
Yep.
puddle or something. I'm sure that was more of a censor thing and like,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I was kind of hoping for like a melted face like from Raiders of the Lost Ark or something. Like that he had just, but instead he was just lying there.
And we didn't even really get to see him. He's just in there, the beam's on, and then we cut to all the other stuff. We don't see him whether he zones out or screams or whatever.
Yeah.
He just goes away.
That's true because Kirk was screaming a lot
Yeah.
Yes.
when that was happening.
He got a lot of Shatner face going on.
Oh, yeah. Shatner gets to ham up the moments.
Well, yes, of course.
So the whole idea of a penal colony like this, that it's more of a resort than a cage,
Yep.
that is a very interesting futuristic
Yeah.
concept that
Yeah.
we certainly are nowhere near because we're all for-profit prisons with horrible conditions, or living conditions.
Yeah.
Kill them all when we can.
Right. We do not treat our prisoners well. We do not focus on rehabilitation. And I like that in the future that is not still the case.
And was it a private facility?
I wasn't clear on that.
While we're talking about prisons right now.
It felt like it probably was because they mentioned lots of his facilities or facilities that were going.
And I will say they had
medical
the
facilities.
Yeah.
they had the male and female prisoners together, and
Yeah.
they were about the same amount. So
Yeah.
in the future, women are committing just
no
as many crimes.
minorities. It was
Yeah,
not
that's right.
overwhelmingly African American
That's
population
true.
or Latino.
Yeah.
It was all white prisoners.
They wouldn't need to get actors to do that though.
Well, you know what
And-
probably
and that-
happened.
Then they wouldn't have.
What probably happened is this is the prison for the
Fair.
white people. The prison for
Oh,
the
you're
Latinos
right.
and the blacks
Could be that
Yeah.
too.
still have those horrible living conditions.
Those are on
separate but equal.
those are on the worst of the worst planets. Yeah, they're awful.
This could have
That
been a
would-
white collar facility too.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
True. That would also defeat the purpose of sort of Star Trek.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I don't think that they would have been able to find that many black actors to hire, or
Yeah.
would have been willing to do that, or willing to hire that many.
And since it was a
Yeah.
swinger colony, they would have paired them up together. You could have had a black
Oh,
a white
that's-
girl or
that
vice
too.
versa. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, change subject.
sure.
Sure.
I like that in the future they think that files of, like Dr. Van Gelder was on an ID tape, not a computer file. That, Spock is reading it out on a tape
Oh,
in like
yeah.
his viewer and calls it an ID tape.
I didn't catch that.
And so that's one of those. I mean, we've talked about how in 1966 version of the future, there's a lot more paper involved versus screens and things, and that's one of those, where it's the idea of like sort of like microfiche kind of
Yeah,
thing,
yes.
as opposed to just clicking on a computer file.
I noticed the transporter guy that got karate chopped was writing with a futuristic pen as well.
Yes. Yep.
Oh yes.
Because
Was-
Penn's is still not gone away.
Was he taking records of what was going on?
Yeah,
Was he studying?
what was it? Yeah, it's hard to
regulations?
tell. Yeah,
I don't know. They were not good
No.
transporter people.
no, they were
Kirk had
the
to-
sea crew.
Yes,
Yeah.
Kirk had to come and tell him how
Tell him how
to
to
use
do
it. Then, had to tell him, hey, you gotta take care of this box before you read up on your how to handle communications with a penal colony. And then they still didn't listen to him and did something else.
Yep.
Well, it occurred to me that maybe that what he was doing was part of taking care of it. He needed to like sign it off or
maybe.
something, and then. But yes, probably should have physically secured it too first.
Yeah. I liked, who was it that commented like, oh, this is before they put a mirror on the wall
Oh, yeah.
of the transporter room.
Yes. There should have been a mirror, so you can see what's going on behind you.
Well, yeah, considering they keep having people like come up and attack
Right?
them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a
How many
safety
times does this
feature.
happen? Yeah.
I don't think Next Generation had a mirror either, so they clearly didn't fix that.
What are they thinking? So at the end, is Kirk just forever in love with Helen?
Yep.
Yeah, we never see him get cured.
They get married. They have 3 kids. No, I don't know. Yeah,
Well,
I don't understand.
he's cured because he's back on the Enterprise, which is his real lady love.
Which is real love.
Yes.
Or his mind just beat it. Because
Yeah.
they said the effects wear off.
Oh,
Oh, they
okay.
did?
Well,
They did earlier. Yeah.
Oh,
It did.
okay, I missed
It
that.
did seem as though, by the time Spock was noticing and raising an eyebrow at what was going on, he just sort of like torn himself away. Was like, okay, I'm okay now,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
was able to stop.
Well, it was like,
He might have been enjoying it a little bit too.
Yeah.
it showed him like almost for a second. It was like, oh, maybe he's dealing with some PTSD from this whole experience.
Yeah.
And then it was
That's
just
what
like,
I thought.
No, we're all fine. Like,
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to figure out. I was like, did he just come back from seeing?
yeah,
Helen?
I
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on.
wasn't sure. It felt kind of like a big build up to just a like, and it's done. Like,
And we're back to 1.
yeah, it just.
I guess
sort of-
maybe it was they were looking at him to see if he was okay, and he was looking at them to see if they thought he wasn't okay.
Yeah. I
But
don't
there was
know.
nothing in between to suggest that, oh yeah, he got his head taken care of. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a deleted scene.
yeah, okay.
I totally bought
so-
that for a second.
I'm not finding historical data on race and the populations of the prison, but I am seeing general prison population rates. And we were incarcerating like right now we incarcerate like 5 or 6 times more people percentage of the population than we were in the 1960s. Percentage wise, not
I
just
would
total
believe-
people.
It's
That
probably
was before the war on drugs and everything. We
Oh,
lock
yeah.
a lot more people up now than we used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot more. So prison wouldn't have had the same social place in society as it does now in terms of perspective.
Should we pick our
Sure.
people?
Sure, our people of the episode. Steven and I are still on Andrea.
You know what? I'm going to go for Noelle.
You're
I was
switching.
captivated by
I
her.
thought you would.
Helen Noel.
Yeah.
I kind of figured that you would be switching to
I was
Helen.
surprised how smitten I was with her.
Well, she seemed to be a bit of an idiot doctor. She did turn
Yeah.
out to be badass.
Then she kicks some ass, and then we never see her again, which is really a bummer.
Yeah, she wasn't
What?
a very good
How do we
James
know
Land
that?
replacement.
No.
No, she
Oh, sorry, spoiler alert.
IMDb tells us ahead of time.
We will see.
We're not watching this week to week, Keith. Let me explain. This show aired 50 years ago.
I mean, I know you're super averse to spoilers.
We will.
I know
see.
you just probably discovered television for the first time the way you just discovered movies.
The guy that played Van Gelder does come back though in a later episode.
Does he?
Yeah, as a different character.
part.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Omega Glory, I think. Which,
Morgan Woodward. Let me double check him
which
real
is
quick.
not one of my favorites, but
Omega.
Think so.
Go back to the 60s or the 70s. Scroll. He comes back. Yes. Yeah, Captain Tracy in the Omega Glory,
That's it,
which
yeah.
will be 1968, so we're
Yeah.
got a little ways.
Yeah.
to go.
I think
So, Amanda?
I'm gonna stay.
You're going to stay with Fisher?
Yeah, Van Gelder. He does a lot with his eyes.
And he was pretty much the hero of this story.
That's
Yeah.
true.
fair point.
But
I thought you liked
did
the bad boys, though. I thought you'd go
not
for Adams.
find him. I did not find Van Gelder attractive. So,
I thought you'd
Sorry,
like the
bud.
security officer who got judo chopped. He was pretty dreamy.
which one?
All of them.
Which one?
All of them.
Yeah. No.
Keith, you want to throw in a girl?
No. I'm,
Okay.
I was hoping
I'm
you'd
stating
go
as
with
usual.
Lethay.
With what?
Lethay, was that her name?
Lazy eye.
Yeah.
That's
It
what
was weird. It was almost like the Seinfeld with the girl's beautiful, not beautiful, depending on the lighting. Because depending on how they lit her,
Yeah.
her eyes were normal, and then they weren't.
weren't. Yep.
Well,
They're trying to convey that there was something
depending
wrong.
on how
It was the
far in
optical
the day
illusion
they
of
were
one.
filming,
Yeah.
how
the way
tired
your
her eye
head
was.
was tilted.
Tired her
God.
eyes.
Seriously.
No, I know. It's just really funny.
Because it takes a lot of effort to...
I think
It's lazy.
That
That's what
wasn't
it was like,
insulting.
I don't
If
you
care
do too
anymore.
much-
I know.
Just gives up.
It's not. It's just funny.
if you do too much neuralizing, it probably does some eye damage.
That too.
Yeah.
True.
That's what I
Very
see.
It's just like masturbating. Masturbating and neuralizing, do too much, you're gonna go blind.
No.
I can test that is not true.
Yeah.
Because of your experience with neuralizers, you mean?
Well, my glasses are really thick. I can tell you that much.
So So Lieutenant Brent in this episode, I guess one of the security officers, was played by Frank Da Vinci, who is the great grandson of Leonardo da Vinci.
Wait, for real?
I have no idea.
Oh.
His name is Frank Da Vinci. His name is Frank Da Vinci, and he has very few credits, but he was in Psycho.
Really? Like 1960s Psycho?
Yes, but as miscellaneous crew, so not an actor in it.
To bring it back to Godfather Part 2,
Stand-in, uncredited.
was it Charlie X that Richard Matheson wrote, or wasn't one of the recent ones we
The
watched?
one that, that
Or was it, what are little girls made of?
Oh.
Anyway, he plays one of the senators in Godfather 2 when Michael Corleone is being interrogated.
So I just realized this. This episode was written by Esbar David, which is not the writer's real name.
Right.
The real name is Shimon Winselberg,
Yeah.
who wrote for the television show Have Gun Will Travel. Wrote Farewell to the Planet of the Apes.
And he wrote the Galileo 7.
He still writes, he's credited with writing on Law & Order UK recently.
Huh.
And
Ooh,
so
I like Law & Order UK.
He wrote a couple episodes of that.
Do you really know it? Or?
No, I do. I've watched all
really?
of the episodes of Law & Order
like
UK.
Law & Order, but they wear powdered wigs. I saw the first episode. I was like, oh, it's got Apollo from Battlestar Galactica.
I can't. Are you being serious with the wigs?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Because
the
they
lawyers
do
wear
still wear
wigs.
powdered wigs.
Oh,
in
the
British
lawyers.
court.
Okay.
The lawyers do.
Yeah.
Not.
I forgot about it.
I
was thinking
love
the cops.
that. I'm not kidding. Jamie Bamber's in it.
And the cops don't have guns,
Not
right?
lawyers, the
billy clubs.
barristers.
Yes, the
The
barrister.
barristers.
Jamie Bamber plays one of the
Yeah.
cops.
Yes.
But what's her name from Doctor Who played Martha is in it. She plays one of the barristers.
Sarima Agamon, whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, she's in it.
Nice.
I'm not kidding. I love me some Law and Order.
It was on BBC America I saw, back when I used to have cable.
Yeah, I
So-
watched them all.
Yeah, so he's still an active writer. Or at least occasionally. So that's kind of cool.
No. You're
No.
talking about Shimon Winselberg?
Yes.
Who died in 2004?
Was still an active writer. Whoa, wait, he had credits for 2011 for Law & Order UK. Or were they just adaptations of a Law &
Maybe
Order
they-
episode
yeah.
he wrote
Based
earlier?
on based.
Ah.
It's based on an
He did die in
episode.
2004.
It's based on
Based
an
on the
episode
episode
from
from the
1997,
original Law
the
and
original
Order.
Law and Order.
Okay, he was still active later in life. How about that?
Okay.
Yes, thank you for calling me on the facts. I should not be giving out false
Sorry.
information. Except when I tell you Frank Da Vinci. It was Leonardo da Vinci. And now we need to rank this episode in comparison to other episodes. Where do we want to stick it in our ranking? Or we want to start from the top or the bottom, you think?
I would say start from the bottom.
I think that's fair. But I think it's definitely better than Charlie's X.
Yes.
Or Charlie's X.
Charlie X.
Charlie X. I was looking at Mud's Women and I added the X to Charlie. Because Mud's Women's right above Charlie X.
Yeah.
Definitely better than Mud's Women.
Do you mean mud women?
Yeah. I think
That's
so.
a whole different episode that Shatner made for his private collection. Better than What Are Little Girls Made Of? Or is it the same episode?
Okay,
was that?
it's this.
Amazingly
They
simple.
put them on they go down in the caves and they're making like the body double copies.
There's Ruck, the giant guy, throws him, knocks the guy down.
It was
bottom
one
of the
episode we
pit.
watched
It's
right
kind of
before
like
Mary.
All right, yes,
Frankenstein.
yeah.
I think it's a very similar episode, but I
I think this is a little better.
I think
Can't
this
believe
is
that's
a
the title.
You're like,
yeah right. That's I did.
That's what
I
we
thought
Why,
of the titles
why
too.
would they? That's such a stretch.
Yeah.
I think this is essentially the same episode, but slightly better. I like the Kirk Spock Bones stuff more
Yes.
in this one.
And we got the mind meld.
Yes.
And we got
I like some of the
relatively strong female
I like
character.
some of the action, yeah.
Yeah, some of the action.
Her kicking at Kirk, socking some people.
So-
Always fun.
And
Does
the
it go-
supporting actors
Oh, yeah.
in it
Yeah.
were definitely
Oh, yeah,
liked
yeah.
better.
Does it go below the enemy within then?
Which was
Kirk.
Two
got-
Kirks.
Yeah.
okay.
They recycled some of the sets from that in this.
Yeah.
Huh.
As I'm
See, this is gonna get harder and harder
Yeah.
as we go.
I
as I'm seeing the ones above it, I can see that those are
Better.
fairly iconic. I would say for certain reasons.
Yeah.
And I think it's gonna be hard to put anything above those.
I
for
don't
a
know
while.
that I would put it above Enemy. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
think
I think
right below it.
Right,
Right
below,
below
Enemy
Okay.
Within.
I think that's fair. I will agree with that and stick that there.
Yeah.
This one is Dagger of the Mind.
One other thing.
Now, episode titles. It's cooler title than many of these
It
other
is, and it
titles.
actually makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a...
Because, okay, so
Shakespeare quote,
it's
right?
like he's got a mind and that machine's like a dagger stabbing into it. Do you understand that?
Isn't it it's a Macbeth
It's
quote? Is that what it is?
Oh.
I think it's a quote from Macbeth. It's part of
Maybe.
that Shakespearean
That
quote.
was a
Yeah.
good thing. Are you checking it?
Yes, I am.
Should have.
There was an episode
That
of
would
Columbo called Dagger of the Mind.
That might
Yes.
make it make more sense then, because
When I Google Dagger of the Mind, it just keeps coming up Star Trek.
the imagery of that for me is like a
If
dagger.
you go to the
somebody
Wikipedia, I
uses
think it might mention it.
I'm just going to Google Dagger of the Mind.
like a dagger produced by the mind as a weapon.
Dagger of the Mind is a false creation that is from Macbeth.
Okay.
Yep. There you go.
False creation proceeding for the heat-oppressed brain.
Oh wow, that actually makes a lot of sense
It's
then.
Dagger of the Mind. Yeah, that doesn't.
They actually do a fair number
yeah.
of Shakespearean references in Star Trek.
We've got another one coming up soon.
We do. So that's
Whole
kind of
episode.
cool.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing I found was, and I didn't even notice this, I know this episode, but South Park did a whole spoof of this.
Oh, really?
Season 2.
Oh, no.
Season
Sorry.
2. And I was like, Season 2? I remember. I watched all those.
Yeah.
It's the Planetarium episode.
Oh, Planetarium.
Yeah, and Cartman's doing the Cheesy Poo commercials. But when they go to the planetarium, they turn a ray on or lights on, and it brainwashes the kids or
I
whatever.
forgot about that.
So then a lot of the rest of the story tags along exactly, and except he's just using the ray to get kids to actually like planetariums. And then Cartman ends up coming in and whatever ruin it. But I was like, I completely forgotten that episode tracks so closely to this one. So
Now, see, I
want to go back and watch it.
was thinking this season of South Park because they kept saying "remember," and I was thinking the member berries from the season. Remember Star Wars? Remember Ewoks? Remember? Any other comments about Dagger of the Mind?
That was it. I want to watch that South Park
There were
episode.
some impressive kicks from Kirk and
Yeah,
Ellen.
there were.
Yeah.
That's all.
Word.
I like the action in this episode.
So next week we will be doing next week in the podcast.
Yes.
We will be doing the Carbamite Maneuver,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
And guest stars a young Clint Howard.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Eastwood.
No.
Have some Dranya.
Yes. I always wonder what was in that drop.
That's a good question.
Okay, well, have a good week. Well, try.
Yeah.
Have a good week. If Trump hasn't already outlawed good weeks by now.
Yeah. I hope you're
You
all
laugh.
still alive.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the white straight men that are still out there listening to us,
Oh God.
because none of the rest of you guys have rights to listen to podcasts anymore, or internet access, unless you're accompanied by a straight white male
Yeah.
landowner looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Those of you in gulags.
I'll give you my password so you can get on without being looked over your shoulder.
You have to cut that.
I have a husband. He's just not a landowner.
Well, then he doesn't get to vote anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry. Plus, he didn't vote for Trump, so he'll lose all his
Immediately
rights
off the
too.
rolls.
Yeah.
Well, then so will you.
He's not gonna take the rights away from the Hillary voters at first. He'll start with the Johnson and Stein because they'll go over easier, and then eventually he'll get around.
Yeah, everyone will be okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only 1%, so it's inconsequential. You know, it doesn't count. It's just 1%.
Yeah.
I laugh because I'm crying on the inside.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Bye.